So successfully qualifying online leads comes down to three things, and they're right here on your screen. You want to engage them immediately, you want to engage them consistently, and you want to engage them empathetically. Now you might ask the question, geez, isn't that difficult? It is. Leads come in at all hours of the day, not during your work hours. The most successful agents understand this, and they do whatever it takes, even if it means hiring a third party to engage these leads. They do whatever it takes to call these leads back immediately, to engage with them consistently, and what that means is, up to 18 times during the first 14 days of the life of the lead, and then to follow up with the people who you don't connect with for about 90 days or so. So engage them immediately, consistently, and empathetically. It's very difficult to be empathetic on your 100th call or your 50th call. So there are companies, and we partner with one called Hire Ava, and we'll get into that at some point during this session, that will follow up with your leads for you. But it really comes down to lead volume and follow-up. Even if you had no one follow up with your leads and you were doing it yourself, just increase your lead volume. There will be plenty of leads coming in during regular hours that you can engage with, and then you can get them to a closing. Even if you're wasting and you're not totally efficient, you'll make a boatload of money doing this. So just know that leads are a 24-hour business. Your business card says real estate professional. Most of us, it says realtor, right? So focus your efforts on prospecting, right? Call, email, and text until you connect with these people. I can show you examples in my system where I've called people 12, 14 times, and finally they rose and did business with me. I can show you other examples where on the first call they picked up, and I just thought, wow, this is easy. So it's not one or the other, it's both. And sometimes you call 14 times, you don't connect with someone, and because they're receiving morning reports, later on down the road, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, a year or two later, all of a sudden they will call you. So it's about building your pipeline, trying to find that low-hanging fruit very, very quickly, and being consistent and persistent about doing those three things, right? Calling immediately, calling consistently, and then being empathetic when you have them on the phone. Remember, you can never sell someone a home on the phone. What you're trying to do is get to the next closing. What I mean by that is when you're working online leads or doing any form of prospecting, there's 4 closings. The first closing is capturing the lead. We do that for you. The second closing is you connecting with them. You do that for yourself, right? The third closing is you take them out. You're used to doing that. The fourth thing is that you meet them at a closing table and get paid. So with all prospecting, there's 4 types of closings, whether that's online lead generation or otherwise. If you're doing postcards, you got to get that appointment. After you get the appointment, you guys all know what to do. So with lead gen, we get the lead, we put them in your site, and that consumer will come back over and over and over and over again onto your site. You'll have plenty of time to see their behavior and engage with them. So unlike an open house where people come in one time, if you don't follow up, you won't see them again maybe until the next open house. You have to do another one in that neighborhood. But with lead gen, once they come onto your site, oftentimes they're coming back over and over and over again, right? And because they're coming back over and over and over again, you have more opportunities to connect with them. And that's the beauty of having a system in place to do that. So what can you expect, right? This is with online leads, with paid advertising. I'm not talking about Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com leads. These are Google, Bing, and Yahoo leads. So about every 50 leads you get through Google, Bing, and Yahoo, about 12 of them, if you're consistent, will raise their hand and say they want to engage with you. And of those, you're going to get 1 to close. So for every 100, you get 2 to close. That's why they always say there's a 2% close rate at a minimum. That's really what it is. Now, my close rate is 4.5% to 5%. And I can show you examples of people who are 4.5% to 5% as well. Generally, it doesn't get greater than that, right? But the money is incredible. So for 50 leads, you might spend $500. And for 1 closing, you might make $10,000. So that's a huge return on investment, right? But there's work in between those 2 numbers, right? And that's what most agents forget. So if you're going to go down the road of online lead generation, just understand that you can accomplish most of what you need to accomplish in between 30 minutes and an hour and a half or 2 per day when you first start, because you're kind of learning how to do it all. But for me, it takes me about 15 or 20 minutes a day now to be on top of my leads. Okay, for you, you're going to have to learn it. I'm going to train you on it, but you're going to get comfortable with it, know where to click and point, what to send, and so on and so forth. And you're going to reduce that time frame that it takes you to engage with leads from, an hour a day or an hour and a half a day down to about 10 or 15 minutes, just like it does for me. And listen, if you can do 10 or 15 minutes of work a day, because the system is doing most of the stuff in an automated way, and make 10 grand every time you do a closing for investing, a small amount of money, you should be doing that. I'm just telling you, it's the right way to do business. So why aren't people ready when they first come onto your site, right? Why aren't they ready? Well, RIS Media and Inman did a survey on this as well. And what they found is that consumers take about 24 months from the time they first start thinking about buying a home until they get to a closing with an agent. Now, back in the day, before the internet, when someone walked into my office, I didn't even think about asking them how long they had been looking, right? But if I had, they would have told me that they had been looking for anywhere from 12 to 18 months by the time they walked into my office, right? And this is true. So people first think about buying a home, and then they talk to their friends, and then they ask their neighbors back in the day, and then they would consult with their parents oftentimes, and then they would drive through neighborhoods, and then they would walk into your office. This is how it used to be. Today, at the mere thought of buying a home, what do consumers do? Right? They jump right onto the website and they start searching. And we capture that lead and we drop it into your CRM. And you call them up and they're not ready or they don't respond, and it frustrates you. It shouldn't frustrate you at all. They're at the research and planning phase. They're not in the ready now buyer phase. They're in the research and planning phase. They're not in the ready now buyer phase. And every buyer, whether it's you or me or anybody that you know who's ever bought a home, goes through all of these different phases. Have you ever thought about what it takes to sort of trigger a consumer to want to engage with an agent? They don't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to call an agent. They do, but there's a bunch of stuff that happened prior to that decision being made. So they got married, or they had a baby, or they had a salary increase, or they got relocation orders, or they inherited money, or they decided they need to upsize or downsize, or there's a retirement. Those are the life events that we call. Those are life events, and those are what triggers someone to want to engage with an agent. Prior to those life events, people are getting ready to get ready. They're thinking about buying a home. They're trying to get their ducks in a row. So when a lead comes onto your site, more often than not, about 97% of the time, 96% of the time, they're not ready now buyers yet, right? They're over here, right, in the research and planning phase. But because when they come onto your site, you don't know where they're at, that's why it's so important to try to engage them, to find that low-hanging fruit, those 2, 3, 4% of the people who want to do something now, because the system is designed to nurture everybody else and bring them along, okay? So you're going to get a lot of leads if you're doing lead gen with us. Among them are the ones that are ready now, and it's your job to find those people, and our system will help you do that. And it's also your job to follow up with those people, and our system will do that with you. And there's automated pieces that do it for you as well. So just remember, most people who come onto your site are not ready now. So drop all the language, all the sort of language you use, like looky-loos and buyers are liars and all this stuff, this negative stuff that we have in our head as agents. Just stop that. Instead, just understand this is the typical buyer's cycle for anything. Have you ever thought about a major purchase that you've made lately? First you think about it, you dream about it, talk to your spouse about it, your significant other about it, you save money, and then something happens and you're ready, and then you go make the purchase. But nothing could have forced you to get to that position. Life had to sort of happen. In other words, you had to get your ducks in a row, and then boom, you're ready. That's exactly what happens with consumers. And so they come onto the site at the mere thought. They look, engage. They leave. They come back. They look. They engage. They leave. They engage. They look. And all of a sudden, there's an uptick in their activity. And when there's that uptick in their activity, of course, you're getting these notifications. And you know, because their behavioral score will increase, that that's someone that you need to pay attention to.